We're dedicating a new baby grand piano out of South Ministry on Friday. Champagne concert.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
Kid.
Jackie.
Jackie, I
I don't know how much they're doing, but I think it's.
What's your last name?
Harry.
H-E-R-R-O-N?
Uh-huh.
You from Charlotte?
Yeah. That's a married man. I'm making it set.
But they won't charge
Oh,
me.
1D or 2 C?
One D. And that's really weird.
There are some people who have.
Yeah, I think my sister, I believe my sister. Her version is SAC. And,
Yeah, I used to go to church with her. She had 2 D's in church.
It's crazy.
My parents did not say it was perfection. I wouldn't.
I said, I wish I could. That's like.
Yes.
Yeah. But some of us changed our own names.
Yeah. And then I think too sometimes a lot of us didn't probably know how to spell.
Mm-hmm.
With added letters.
Mm-hmm. Give me not remember.
It's okay, it's a lot for us to learn. So you guys facilitate this. You say it.
Breakfast with my brother. I was having breakfast with the relatives this morning, so I just got out a little bit early, so I can be here now. Okay. Because I don't like to be that.
No, I don't like to be late. Good morning, Laura. You know what I got? I'm doing well.
With me leaving the house all day, no copies in the pocket, I just want.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I got all ready for office, so I didn't have time to deal with it. It's naturally.
Really, because they would definitely kill him.
Y'all doing well?
You don't know what to try to tie it up to
It's so nice to meet you. What's your first? Robin. Can I give you a flyer? So it was raining outside. So it didn't look like the picture, but when I said, my mind, pictures here.
Oh, it's not gonna be all that, but it's like fair.
The weather is exactly.
So we're doing well.
This is all I can do.
Okay.
It is so nice to meet you.
Okay.
I don't know if you
I'm in District 4, out there.
I think she was fishing.
East side. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of like downtown.
Well, when I stopped on so I didn't West Boulevard, all the way
I
down
still
to
live over that way.
so that's where we are. So
Oh, that's not too.
I do. I live outside there, so across the side of Freedom.
I'm not an employee, I'm born and raised.
I got your plan too, so I know.
How you doing?
So
Doing well. How you doing? Good. You bring some water. I know
It's
you-
rolling, ain't it?
I know that you've been with them a long time, but
I gotta go out and win.
Yeah.
You know, they making me look bad my last year. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
Family's still there. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I'm losing.
No, it's fine.
I would have done the video so I can turn
Oh,
around.
okay.
Miss Jackie, is Mr. Bowers gonna be here with us? Was he invited?
Mr. Bowers is not invited because Mr. Bowers does not have any contact information on the board election.
You
So
did.
how could I contact you?
Totally not your fault, and totally not
Unusual.
I haven't really seen him, so I was just curious. Good morning, Joy. Good, how are you? Do you have a preference of seat?
That's better than me.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you for wearing your hair up today, Joy.
Oh, I'll probably put it back down.
Listen, I couldn't do anything today. I said I can't do a wig or nothing. I went to a breakfast for the relatives this morning, so.
Good morning. If y'all will, just take whatever seat you like, just hold your paper, make yourself a tent.
But I was asking about our Republican colleague, and apparently he doesn't have his information on the BOE, so he didn't get an invitation. It's weird. I got to chat with your mom's son yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't know she's a dancer.
Oh, girl. Yeah.
She was out there twirling around doing her merengue. I was like, okay, Mama, I see you.
Bye bye.
Hey, good morning.
Did you like it the other night? Love it, different.
Everybody can be touching and scratching.
Gotta put my hair down.
Oh, okay. So you put it down. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Nice meeting I'm meeting a lot of different mayos in the campaign trail. It's crazy. Yeah, but I never knew our names were like, but in Richmond, there is a mayo island. Yeah, so I guess somewhere in there, there's a prominent mayor. You probably don't want to read that.
And I said, well, I'm gonna have to check because I just when she said that, I said, I'm gonna have to check. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, I got on the right place.
Good morning. Welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday morning forum. We're so happy that you're here this morning. I am Mary Johnson. I will be facilitating along with Ms. Laura McClellan, Jackie Edwards Walton, Nathalie McElrev, who is our timekeeper, and she will let you know when your time is up. We have Steve Johnston at the computer. We also have Mr. Thomas Moore, who is our musician. Thank you. Our forum runs from 8:30 to 10, and we will pause shortly before that for announcements from the audience. We always start with a prayer, and Mr. Ricky Robbins, candidate for sheriff, has graced us with a prayer this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's just a second. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us to see another beautiful day. We want to ask that you watch over each and every one of us as we get through this forum. These are many other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, do we have any first timers here? Anyone here for the first time? Okay, we're all family here today. Okay, so we all know the rules that we allow our candidates to speak, and then we will take questions from the audience. Make sure you raise your hand because we take questions in the order that you raise your hand, okay? And when you stand to ask your question, would you please state your name? That really helps a lot if you state your name first. I'm gonna ask you to silence your phones. If you have your cell phones, let's put them on silent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna introduce our guest this morning. We have City Council District 3, Ms. Joy Mayo is here. And we have Ms. Robin Emmons. I'm looking hard. Trying to read. Okay. We also invited Mr. James Bowers, and he's not here. Maybe he's not coming. Okay, thank you. But he was invited. And then we have, later on, we're gonna have Dolores Johnson Hurt and Everett Blackman of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Black Heritage Committee. Okay, they're on the November 15th Theresa Elder Trailblazer Award Luncheon. So they will come and talk about that. So I'm going to let each of you introduce yourselves, and maybe you can have, I'm not sure, your usual speech, of introduction. And then after that, we will take questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tuesday Morning Forum. It's wonderful to be with you again. My name is Robin Emmons, and I'm honored to be here today as the independent candidate running for Charlotte City Council District 3. I want to make clear that my life's work has been about service, from feeding families to mentoring young people and fighting for housing and healthcare access. I chose to run because I believe District 3 deserves leadership that listens to all voices and works across differences and to get results. Our neighbors care about safe housing, reliable transportation, good jobs, and thriving small businesses in District 3, and that's where I want to focus. So I don't come with any agenda other than serving people, which is why I have chosen to run as an unaffiliated candidate. I want to be about the people's business, the people's needs, and not a party's agenda. So I'm running in that spirit, and I'm looking forward to this conversation today and taking your questions. I'll hand it over to my colleague and challenger, Joy Mayo.
Thank you.
It's your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on. Oh, nice. No worries. Good morning. My name is Joy Mayo. I am the Democratic candidate for District 3 for Charlotte City Council. So I'm a former CMS teacher. I taught middle school math and social studies right in Southwest Charlotte at Southwest Middle School. I'm a neighborhood leader and the founder and board chair of Transforming Nations Forward, a community development nonprofit working to bring investment, opportunity, and improve safety in one of Charlotte's most overlooked areas, the Nations Forward corridor. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done with Transforming Nations Forward. I've seen firsthand what happens when government agencies are not investing and being intentional when it comes to a community. And that's really why I decided to run, because I saw a lack of intentionality in an area where I really believe that investment is needed, particularly for our young people. So excited for this new opportunity. I bring innovative ideas, fresh energy, also lots of energy if you know anything about me. And just really a willingness to work and serve. So super excited for this opportunity. One, to serve as a Democratic candidate for Charlotte City Council District 3. As I've talked about in my platform, I am all about safe and inclusive communities. I believe our neighborhood leaders often know what the issues are in their neighborhoods, and we should be empowering them to help create the change that they want to see in their neighborhoods. I'm also a big fan of how do we increase opportunities, not just for young people, but for our seniors to be able to age in place safely and respectfully in a way that honors what they have brought to this community. And lastly, I'm a huge proponent as an environmentalist of smart growth model. How do we create 10-minute cities where people are able to get to essential services without having to just rely on a car, right? I don't know about you, but I was in a car for about 30 minutes today getting here, and that's not great. How can we be thoughtful of how we create a city where people can get to services? That can be going to the pharmacy, going to the doctor, going to the grocery store within a 10-minute commute. And that commute doesn't just have to be within a car. It can be walking, taking some type of public transit, or biking. So super excited to bring some great energy and some great ideas as a District 3 representative for Charlotte City Council. So I'm Joy Mayo. Please go to my website to learn more. My name is spelled with an I, moms, J-O-I, and appreciative and looking forward to chatting more today.
Okay, we are ready to open up for questions. Okay.
Well, I have a question for each of the candidates, but Joy, you said something that piqued my interest. You stated that it took 30 minutes for you to arrive here today. How long do you think it's going to take with public transportation?
I think it depends. So we're very close to NODA in this area. I live right off the light rail, so maybe an easy 10-minute commute to the Arrowwood light rail station. So I think that us being thoughtful of creating housing and opportunities and investment near existing transit is important, not just in highways. So I just saw, was it yesterday? One of your members actually was talking about McCrory Heights, potentially seeing additional destruction because of the expansion of the 77 highway. I think that we have to invest in more than just roads, particularly when we know that highways have gone through Black and brown communities. So I think that we have to be thoughtful. How are we growing a community so that we can thrive, particularly historically underserved communities that are bearing the brunt of the expansion that Charlotte is seeing and growth.
I can't understand what you're saying. You have a question, Jackie?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you speak a little bit about your legacy there in District 3, having started with Ron Leeper being the first elected District 3 rep once we moved away from at-large candidacies? Yes, please.
Ms. Jackie, let me be sure that I understand your question. You're asking about our individual legacies following Ron Leeper's leadership? Is that the
His
question?
legacy.
His legacy.
Yes.
Ron Leeper's legacy.
Yeah.
Certainly. So certainly, Ron Leeper has been a trailblazer in really building out infrastructure in District 3 and advocating for investments in District 3. Of course, he's well known across this community and continues to be a symbol of how we can sit in a seat and really be a champion for change.
Thank you. So I have the pleasure of Ron Leeper, the first District 3 representative, actually endorsing me in my candidacy. He's been a strong supporter of my run for Charlotte City Council. I sent email blasts and very proud of that. He has been a great mentor to me. We've had a lot of conversations about his legacy, particularly when it comes to community benefits agreements. And I think this is something that we have to be really thoughtful, particularly as the airport continues to grow and expand and negatively impact Black and brown communities. I keep harping on that. I am a history major. All my degrees are in history. I like to look back on systemic injustices and how that has impacted our community. Ron Leeper and I've had a lot of conversations about how when he was a District 3 rep, he had conversations with homeowners and worked with the city to make sure that they were receiving support that they need. So that can include new windows to help with noise mitigation, also helping with insulation. So I think it's important, one, as a District 3 representative, to have strong relationships with previous representatives so that we can make progress from the work that they've done. Oftentimes, our elected officials are doing great work. How can I continue that work and that legacy and build upon that? So I'm very proud of the work that I have already had with former council member Ron Leeper. Excited to continue his legacy and for him to continue to mentor me. And it means a lot that he has, he believes that I am the best candidate to represent District 3.
I have a question. Can each of you share the most significant thing that you've done in this community to accentuate especially what has happened to the Black community as we have grown in Charlotte? What you've done to make a significant contribution to our growth as African Americans? Both.
Thank you, Ms. McCuddy, I appreciate the question. So I would point to my founding of the nonprofit So Much Good, an organization that received national attention relative to food justice and food inequities in our community, advocating for food justice and equitable investments relative to a basic human need and a fundamental right for people to have access to clean, healthy food. So I have championed that and gone around the country, not just here in Charlotte, speaking about what is absent that is readily available in other communities. Also, I have used that work and that national attention that has been brought to the organization that I founded back in 2008 to really speak to other issues that are affecting communities of color relative to displacement, lack of housing, lack of economic opportunities. So I continue to champion those things and speak loudly about them and really collaborate across lines of differences to figure out how we can have a more equitable share of the prosperity in this city. And I will continue to do that as the District 3 representative.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk more about the service that I've provided to District 3. So I've lived in District 3 for about 10 years. I purchased a home through HUD's Good Neighbor Next Door program, which is a program for public servants, firefighters, teachers, EMTs, so that they can live in the community where they serve. So I actually taught the students in my neighborhood. Immediately upon living in Kings Creek, which is where I live off Nations Court, Arrowwood, I really realized, one, that there was a lack of opportunities and investment in that area. And that's partly why there are a couple of things that I've done. First thing I did as an HOA president, which I did for 9 years, I just rolled off the board in December. If anyone has been HOA president, you know that's not always fun, but it's about getting the work done and doing what's right for the community. As the HOA president, we were able to keep corporate landlords out of our neighborhood. And this is because of my intentional leadership. Because of our CCRs and bylaws, only 20% of the actual housing should be rental units. So for the last 9 years, we've created a pathway to affordable homeownership so that people can buy townhomes and single-family homes in my neighborhood for less than $250,000. So when we talk about the lack of opportunities here in Charlotte, part of that is affordability. People being able to purchase homes in the community where they live. And that is something that I am very proud that I did as the president of my HOA, and that is continuing now. So one thing I think is important as a District 3 representative is creating the infrastructure so that people can be successful. And that is the type of leadership that I will bring as a District 3 representative. Listening, understanding the problems, and creating real solutions for everyday people right here in District 3. Also want to talk a little about transforming Nations Forward. I am very proud of the work that we have done in that organization. We have created opportunities for everyone to serve. I think oftentimes if you look at neighborhood associations, we want to make sure that we're bringing young people in the fold. We want to make sure that we're bringing diversity in the fold as well. And we have Latinx population, young African Americans, Caucasians as well, because together we can create the change that we want to see in our community. And I think that's important that we're empowering people, we're giving them the tools to be the change that they want to see in the community. So I'm very proud of the work that I've done in District 3. I hope that there'll be great things when people talk about my legacy. and the fact that I'm creating opportunities for other people, not just myself.
Good morning, Robert Collins. What I'd like to know is, in these battles, I'll call them, we always find things that about the other person that we want to say that we are better at. What is something that you've heard the other person say that you either admire about them or that you wish to be more like?
Next question. I'll make that first. Okay. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that. I think it's important that we also uplift each other. While Robin and I are opponents, we're also friends. We chat often. We have a lot of the same goals for District 3. Just because we're opponents, I don't think that means we have to be nasty or rude to other people. So that's something that I'm really proud of with my campaign. I focus on the race. I don't need to say mean things about people because that's just not who I am. And that's not the type of person that I want to be. So I'll just start with that. But one thing I really admire about Robin, I love the food justice policy that she works for with her nonprofit. I think that's very important. When we talk about District 3 is very diverse, right? When we talk about West Boulevard, we know that the area is a food desert. And the West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition is working with it to create the Three Sisters Market. This is a legacy of what Robin is doing, for making sure that Black and brown communities have the resources that they need. And part of that is access to healthy food. When we look at obesity rates and all the things that are going on in Black and brown communities, access is the most important thing. And I think that's great that she has raised that platform, really helped to elevate the ideas that this is important in our community, and I'm excited to continue to see her legacy. So thank you so much for your question. I think that is so important, particularly in our communities. Because we know that what we consume, not only food, but also media, affects us mentally and physically. So I think that she's doing great.
Thank you for the question, Robin, and good morning. I thank you, Joy, for the
Yes, ma'am.
I really appreciate this question because I think that our politics has gotten so ugly and so nasty, not just here locally, but nationally. I think the cacophony of noise and vitriol is really creating an even deeper chasm between people. And I think there are more people that are closer to the middle than at the far right or left. And so I make it a point, it is my ethos and part of who I am to always be kind. The world is a very small place, and so Charlotte is growing quickly, but the city is still small because there are 2 degrees of separation rather than 6, particularly given social media and the way that we're connected online. So for Joy, I have seen her run a really strategic campaign, and I admire that about her. This is a really tough road, there's a lot of pressure. And so she has really exercised grace under tremendous pressure. I will say that I've had the privilege of watching her run as an independent because I didn't have the opportunity to get on the ballot immediately. I had to collect 1,500 signatures over the course of a very hot summer to get here. So I just arrived. So I've been in candidate forums, I've been at other venues where I have seen her just hold herself together under tremendous pressure. And so I really admire the way she's running her campaign with integrity and grace. So that would be my admiration for her.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay, Ricky, yeah.
Good morning, Ricky Robbins, candidate for sheriff. Question for both of you. The youth is our vision for tomorrow. So under your leadership, what programs or what would you do collaborative to work with government, law enforcement, schools to ensure that our youth are seeing a better vision and trying to keep them out of jails and employed somewhere down the road? So how can you help the community, especially with the youth?
I can go. As a former teacher, I taught for 12 years before I now work at an environmental nonprofit. I think the young people are so important. How do we provide access for them? This is part of the reason why I ran for office. In Nations Forward, we don't have any place for our kids to go. There's no recreation center. We have parks, but those parks are very outdated. Conversations I have with Park and Rec. I I'm a data nerd, so I like to look at the data, and our parks are rated Ds and Fs. That's unacceptable. That is not okay for our young people, or just people in general in our communities. And I have no problem saying that county commissioners, the new park and rec person, because that is not okay. Sorry, I feel very passionate about that. Yes, sir. So one thing I think about keeping our young people out of jail, I'm very proud of the work that we've seen with Alternatives to Violence and Nations Forward and also West Boulevard. So the city and the county have had a lot of investment with the Alternatives to Violence program, helping people, not only young people. I'm always surprised looking at the stats by the people who are getting involved in violent crimes. And it can be as young as 12 as up to 35. And I think it's important that people have someone to talk to, which I think is why I'm a really big fan of the ATV program. It's helping our young people who maybe are already caught up in the system to figure out what are some strategies and solutions to create real change. I know for the Nations Forward one, ours is collaborated with the Urban League of Central Carolinas, and they bring those wraparound services to the work that they do. And that really helps with workforce development. So I think that's important, that we are thinking holistically about people, not just about how do we keep people out of jail. There are reasons why people may be getting involved in crime, right? Maybe they can't feed their family. Maybe they don't have a place to live. How do we bring all of those strategies and all of the support that people need so that they can do better? So I think there are a lot of conversations to have with the city and the county and the state about how do we create the infrastructure and wraparound services to help all of our residents, particularly our young people. And very excited with whatever goes down as this race, to have real conversations about community benefits agreements. How do we make sure that everyone in the community gets a piece of the pie, not just the 1%? How do we create workforce development so that people can have the training to create jobs, or to have these new jobs that are coming to Charlotte? We're not just bringing outside people. We need to take care of home first. Sorry.
Oh, you good.
Thank you, Joy.
Sorry, I've been on a rant.
Randy, I really appreciate the question, and it's really timely relative to my time spent this morning. So I was up early this morning. I was attending a breakfast at the Relatives for their annual fundraising initiative. I'm just thinking about young people who are unhoused, young people who have faced abuse and neglect and really don't have anyone else. And so I think that we have to bring all stakeholders to the table. You mentioned CMS, you mentioned the city, you mentioned the county. I think it's going to take all of us to figure out how we build youth diversion programs and initiatives to really engage people. I agree with what Joy mentioned around not so much asking the what question, but the why. Like access to economic opportunity and mobility. How do we create programs for people who are young to get skills, particularly if we think about this holistically, where we know that AI and technology is going to be taking over entry-level jobs, and so that part of the workforce economy is falling away. So even less opportunities for young people to learn how to live, earn a living and make a life for themselves and communities. So how do we get out of our silos, really get all stakeholders to the table and understand that investing in our youth is really, really critical to not just the growth of our city, but also our economic vitality as a city and our reduction of crime. Like, public safety is more than just policing, and we cannot police our way to safety. We need to be investing in young people and creating opportunities for all. And so I would say, as your District 3 representative, I would be really committed to collaborating with those various stakeholders across CMS, across the county, and of course, colleagues on the city council to figure out how we have a program with the city, right, where if you graduate from high school, you can go directly into a city job and start making money right away. But we know that a lot of our kids are falling through the gaps. And so we have to think of them to what's the safety net that we can create to make sure that they are not lost to the prison industrial complex, but they are engaged in our city and a part of our shared prosperity here.
It's getting late. Almost 9, so we're gonna ask you to keep your answers to a minute.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You haven't had the whole of your sign.
I know, I was like, oh, I
Just
can
say your
pick it
name
up.
before you, do your question.
Good morning, my name is Abby.
Morning.
You know, we talk a lot about, it's almost like everybody else except for the mentally ill and the homeless. What are your views? What's what?
Ms. Addy, let me be sure that I understand your question. Are you asking about the unhoused in our city and homelessness? Did I understand you correctly?
I'm asking about your area, your district, and it's in every area, every district, the mentally ill, the homeless. What are we gonna do about them? It's like we're almost taking care of everybody else, not taking care of them, but we're addressing everybody else's needs. What about, because I see the mental illness, it is rampant. It is rampant. The homelessness, it is rampant. You see people in the woods. And a lot of it comes down to when you don't have the money. Because what I see is all about the coins. It's all about the money.
No doubt, Ms. Addy, we live in this capitalistic structure, which can be violent and dismissive of the most vulnerable. And I think that the measure of society's progress isn't measured by how we treat the wealthy or the powerful, it's how we treat the most vulnerable among us. And I appreciate this question deeply because many people who know me and know my story of how I ended up starting a nonprofit will know that I left a very lucrative corporate career to start this nonprofit, So Much Good, that I founded in 2008 because I have a brother who's living on the streets of Charlotte for a decade, suffering from homelessness and undiagnosed schizophrenia, right? Invisible in a city full of people and excluded economically, excluded from housing opportunities, really, really challenging. And then navigating a very complex system to get guardianship for him and to keep him from being incarcerated for the crime of mental illness. So I think that as we have this conversation about public safety, we have to think about it holistically. We need comprehensive public safety that includes people. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Ms. McDonald.
Finish your thought.
I'm happy to have a further conversation and talk more about your question, Ms. Addy, but basically, we need to be thinking about mental health services, policing, and a whole host of comprehensive public safety to address this issue, including housing wraparound services.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. I think that is very important. I think the city needs to continue to partner with different organizations in order to make sure all our residents are supported. People who are unhoused are also our neighbors. They're our friends. They should receive the same amount of support as other people. We always, in that room, we talk about housing first, how essential it is to make sure that people have housing and then that helps with other services. So I think housing first is super important. So the city does have a program right now, Faith in Housing, that they're working with different houses of faith in order to incorporate and build on their land to provide housing. One great example of that is Caldwell Presbyterian, right off the Gold Line, which I think is important. Making sure we have housing or existing transit is essential. But that helps chronically unhoused individuals. I think we need to continue to have those conversations. We need to continue to be innovative. How churches own, second to CMS, the most land in Charlotte. So they should be working with us to make solutions to these problems. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Dr. Blanche again here. How are you?
Good morning.
How can you assure us that you will not be a rubber stamp of the mayor and her initiatives? And also, I want to hear about how this city is almost overloaded with condos, things like that, where people cannot afford to stay there. And it's the word on the street is that one day, who knows, the water or whatever, we might run out. And so we're in an overload right now. So what are y'all gonna do in order to not everything rubber stamp the mayor? Because the word on the street is that she looks for people who can rubber stamp.
Dr. Benjamin, good morning. Always good to see you. I think, number one, I have never been a follower or rubber stamp. I have always been a vocal advocate for the things that I believe most strongly in, standing 10 toes down. If people are running in one direction, if everybody's running, you can be sure that I'm probably the one person running in the other. So this is part of the reason why I've chosen to run as an unaffiliated candidate and do the hard work of earning a place on the ballot, because I will not be about anyone's agenda other than the people. So I am not made or designed to be a rubber stamp, and so that will not happen in my representation. On the question of the condos going up, I have been hearing a lot from all the people that I've spoken to across this district during my signature campaign, and your concern is shared. I think that Joy has spoken a lot about community benefits agreements. I think that we need a better communication system so that residents can get ahead of these developments and make demands of these builders who are coming to our communities, building housing and changing the character and the integrity and the dynamic of neighborhoods that have been there.
Thank you for your question. I think that it's really essential that, one, people do the work and read through everything. I think this is partly why I've been so successful with my neighborhood. It's the fact that I like to read the fine print. I like to ask the question, why? So I don't plan on rubber stamping anything, because I think it's important to understand, one, how is this gonna impact our neighborhoods? How is this gonna impact our schools? Oftentimes, I like to read the rezonings, and I think that CMS could do a better job of really giving a real answer about how some of these rezonings in new neighborhoods are gonna impact the schools. We know that many of our schools have trailers and are overcrowded. So I think those are important questions to ask. That's why I'm committed to making sure that I do the research. I'm not just gonna come to the meetings unprepared. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm about doing the work and being about business. Overcrowded with condos, that is concerning. I think that is part of those conversations. I think that oftentimes we're not giving people the infrastructure to support themselves with the HOAs, which I talked about earlier. They can help make sure there's affordability so that people can live in the community. So I'd love to chat more about that. Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Darnell Ivory, and you've kind of answered some of this anyway, but I framed the question, so I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
Just heard on the news yesterday, a father of 5 was killed, and about 4 people in the day have been murdered. How would you address the root causes of crime, such as poverty and lack of opportunity, in addition to supporting law enforcement?
So yeah, I think those wraparound services are essential. While some services are more county services, I think the city and the county needs to do a better job of working together. These are residents in both, residents in city or county residents as well, and they should be collaborating to make sure that we're providing those support. I also think it's very important when people are out and about in the community. That's one thing I really like about the Alternatives to Violence program we have at Nations Forward. They're bringing those wraparound services. They're talking about, do you need help with housing? Do you need help with getting a job? I think we need to understand the why. And when applicable, people may need additional training. I think it's really important, one thing that we need to have real conversations about, how do we bring services to people instead of people having to go to get the services? So I know the county is creating a community resource center on Nations 4 that's supposed to break ground, and I think now I heard 2029. That's not good enough. That's not good enough for our residents. While you may not be able to build that whole center right now, how do we use existing buildings that are empty or underutilized to bring the services to the people that need them? So I think that's the type of leadership that I will bring, innovative thinking. We don't need a big building to get things done to work for the people.
Did you need for me to answer this question as well? Yes. Okay, happy to. Thank you. I also saw that story, and I think that really we have to think about this through the lens of economic opportunity. And so, because nobody is born a criminal, despite what some of our elected officials federally have said, nobody is born that way. So I think this question again about the why instead of the what is really important. And then of course we're thinking about this through the lens of public safety. It requires more than reactionary politics, right? Especially after tragic incidents like the one you just mentioned and the transit killing, which have been politicized. We really have to think about how we bring all stakeholders to the table, the nonprofit community, the city, the county, CMS, and how we're going to be creating opportunities for people to be able to have a living and a life and be an integral part of our society and not go out and commit these heinous crimes. And of course, the mental health piece, really those investments too. We are going to achieve these goals of addressing our seemingly most intractable social problems by investing in people and infrastructure. And that's what I would advocate for as the District 3 representative.
Greetings, everybody. Travis Sullivan. So there's a book called Root Shock, which basically studied specifically within our community, how urban renewal and displacement cause a lot of problems, including like the AIDS epidemic, mental health, instability, violence within our communities. Would you all be willing to actually look back and address these instances where essentially we were essentially attacked by an entire federal government using our own tax dollars to destroy us?
You know.
Good morning, Travis. Thank you for the question. I love that you always come to this historical lens, particularly around Black communities. So thank you for always being here and engaging in this really thoughtful way. Yes, despite the attacks on, Black history and the attempts to erase that, I think it's really important that we stand strong and that we really stand on truth and tell the whole story. And so this idea of root shock really is interesting to me. I haven't read the book, but certainly we know that systemically things have happened in our community and that these stories are worth telling and sharing. So yes, I would be willing to speak about that, read about that, learn more about that, and more importantly, think about ways that we push back against this effort to erase this and really prevent any additional root shock going forward.
Thank you for that question. As someone who, all of my degrees are African American history, this is something, while that's not currently what I do, I still bring that lens to anything that I do. Because it's essential, even with my work as an environmentalist, all these things are systemic, right? Under canopy, when we talk about tree canopy, that's by design, unfortunately, because of systemic racism. Just to talk a little bit about that, yes, while those things are in the past, those are still in our present. We know, I think I was told November 13th or 14th, they're gonna be releasing the maps for 77 South expansion, right? 77 South, going from uptown all the way to South Carolina, that's mostly going through our neighborhood. So this isn't just history, this is still happening. How do we still have these conversations? How do we make sure that everybody has a seat at the table? How do we make sure we minimize the impact to Black and brown homeowners and also businesses, right? So I think there are a lot of conversations to have about that. I am very concerned about that, and that's part of the reason why community benefits agreements are so imperative, because they're going to impact us.
So me, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I'm Jay Hill. I am a board member of West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition, Western Wilkinson Merchant Association. Parents still live in Barrington Woods off of West Boulevard. My question is relative to the transportation tax. How do we protect West Boulevard if the transportation tax is approved and moved forward?
Thank you, good morning today. I think the way that we protect, and we know that there's been a lot of, there's been like a whole roadshow that's going on for trying to convince people to vote yes. The first thing I want to say that good ideas stand on their own merit. You don't need lobbyists, corporate attorneys, consultants to sell the community something. We can figure out what's good for us. I think that the way that we protect West Boulevard, Wilkerson Boulevard, and all of the other communities that will suffer displacement is to make sure that when we're asking for things, we're not just accepting an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. We need these promises to be codified in the agreement. Otherwise, we stand to experience the same betrayals and falsehoods and empty promises that we've experienced in the past. And so I think that's the way we do it. We make sure that it's codified in agreement, just like the PAVE Act and other things that we know are going to happen. Empty promises, we've heard them before. Let's not fall for that.
All right, good answer.
Thank you for your question. And this is something that Ricky Hall and I have a lot of conversations about. Also received his endorsement for District 3. Hey, gotta put it out there, sorry. So some of the conversations that he and I have are about those community benefits. So let's say that this 1 cent sales tax passes. How do we protect our community? And part of that is workforce development. How do we hold corporations responsible for making sure that they have a percentage of these jobs to Black and brown people? How are they also helping train people in our neighborhood so that not only are they getting current jobs, but jobs in the future? We know that this influx of cash is going to bring opportunities, and those opportunities should be benefiting the people who are going to be impacted, including people in West Boulevard. So that's one big thing I think that is important, having those real world conversations. How do we minimize displacement? How do we help get the word out about homestead acts and different things so that people can continue to live in the community but also thrive with different opportunities?
I'd like to say good morning. I'm Cheryl Emanuel, and my question is, how do you balance or prioritize the requests from the different neighborhoods in District 3? I often hear you reference the areas that you live in, but what about those unvoiced, unsung neighbors that often may not know how to lift their voice in every meeting? How do you get to them? And how can we assure that your vote is only not for where you live?
So I think part of that is based on having conversations like we're having today. So I'm not new to this work. I've been doing the work for 9 years. I've been going to the West Boulevard neighborhood coalitions for years. I've been speaking with Still Creek Residents Association. I think it's important to work with neighborhood leaders in areas to make sure that we are hearing what they have to say about different things. One thing I'm really excited for as a future District 3 representative is creating a District 3 coalition, similar to what Renee Johnson has for her District 4. I think that's very important, particularly for some smaller neighborhoods. How do we make sure that everybody has a seat at the table, not just the big guys, right? West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition has done great work. They have the infrastructure, but how do we make sure that everybody has the skills to be just as successful as them? And I think part of that is us working together as a community and neighborhood groups. They're doing great things. How do we learn from each other? While the city has workshops oftentimes, I think that we see people who are doing the work, good work. How do we learn from them, emulate that so that everyone has a seat at the table?
Absolutely, that's such a great point. Building a coalition across.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Cheryl Emanuel. Love, it's so good to see you. Thank you for the question. I am not a Charlotte native, but I got to the city in 1992. I have been here for 33 years. And so I have built strong relationships across District 3 and across this city. But more importantly, during my signature campaign, which took me the entire summer, collecting 2,771 signatures on paper to get to 1,382. I began developing relationships all across District 3, not just in the West Boulevard corridor, which I've had long-standing relationships there just through my work with food justice and housing and the many issues that I've been working to address since I got to Charlotte in '92. But also with the people who are out knocking on doors for me right now all across District 3, leaving literature on doors, asking people to get out and vote. I have begun the work of building neighborhood cabinet leaders who will be eyes and ears for me in community once I'm elected to this seat. Hey, baby. And so I think those people who are living in the community, because it's not monolithic. District 3 is large, and so, sorry, Mr. Camera, sorry. I'm so sorry, but that's the answer to my question. I hope I was made that clear.
Good morning. Rodney Collins, also a candidate for sheriff. So my question to you, if you're elected, what is the one main priority or thing that you would like to accomplish during your term?
Good morning, Rodney. So it would be disingenuous for me to sit here and say that I'm gonna get on the council and address all these priorities that are important to me. Not just disingenuous, but probably naive. There will be a learning curve. But I think given the current structure of the council, as an independent candidate, I would want to have a unifying impact on this council. More pragmatism, more collaboration, more compromise, and more shared vision around what is good for the city. And so if I could accomplish that in addition to my own priorities relative to my platform, then I think that I will have been successful in my first term.
Thank you. I think that's a really great question. I talk a lot about community benefits agreements. And to be honest, I didn't really know that I was actually doing some of that until about a year ago when I really started having those conversations to understand what they are. I think it's important, and I actually had a conversation with someone about this yesterday. Helping our neighborhoods and our residents come up with those community benefits agreements. Maybe doing a one-pager to figure out, okay, you wanna come and build this development in my neighborhood? We'd like for you to reserve 10% for affordable housing. That's not something that as a city council person that we can do because this is a Dillon Law state, but we can empower our residents to have those conversations and to make those demands of developers and different organizations that wanna come into our city. So I think that's super important, empowering people to create the change and create the neighborhoods and the communities that they want. So that's something that I'm already starting to think through. We'll be working with different organizations like the Housing Justice Coalition about how do we create opportunities for people to create better communities. And part of that is by holding people accountable. And I'm excited for that one pager.
Mr. Hill.
Rob Hellman, Queen City Robotics. Question for you is, again, I apologize in advance because I'm a banker. I think about everything about money, right? So my question is, how do you plan to pay for your priorities? Is there room in the current budget? Do you plan to raise taxes, or are there additional untapped revenue sources that you see that will allow you to provide those wraparound services, those things that you build those facilities, that, do the things that you say you want to do?
So I think part of that is kind of that innovative thinking. When we talk about wraparound services, one thing I've noticed with the Housing Trust Fund dollars, oftentimes they're working with Ascent Housing to create preserve naturally occurring affordable housing. That's really important that we think through that, particularly with the 2040 plan. It's telling you where places are likely to be displaced. So one, using the data intentionally to make sure that we're thinking through where do we need to protect our residents. But then with that, with our Housing Trust Fund dollars, we often can work with Atrium Health. So for example, where I live in Nations Ford, or not far from us, Lake Mist Apartments. which is one of those that I talked about with percent housing to preserve naturally occurring affordable housing. They have services within there. They have a health worker there, and they share it with Lake Miss and Shelton Knolls. So it's important to use the existing infrastructure. We have apartment buildings that, multiple apartments are empty, right? We could be providing some of those services in those buildings where people live. We don't always have to build a new building. We can think outside the box to bring the services that our residents need. So I don't always think it has to require a whole lot of money. I just think it requires thinking innovatively, thinking outside the box. How do we bring the services to the people now?
Thank you, Mr. Hillman. Cash moves everything around. Money. So I think your question is very valid. Like, how are we going to pay for these things, right? The priorities that we mentioned, wraparound services, like addressing the need for, housing for workforce and unhoused populations. I think the first thing you do is look at the city's budget, right? Because a budget reflects your priorities. So whatever's at the top, that's going to get the bulk of the budget. So we start there. And then looking at that budget, we think about auditing to figure out inefficiencies in that middle layer where there might be consultants and others. But more importantly, I think that we have to think about this in truth that government is not structured to address all of these problems. It could not possibly do that. So we have to be thinking about public-private partnerships. We need to bring all stakeholders to the table to make these investments because we're all paying for it in one way or another. Whether it's our feelings of being unsafe on our streets or our concerns about not enough housing, government can't do it alone. And so I think we have to have shared responsibility and shared investments. And that's how we are able to get it done and not have the burden on residents in terms of increasing taxes and other means that are punitive for the people that live in the city.
Good morning. My name is Mike Lilly. I keep hearing the question coming from this direction, how? I keep hearing the question coming from that direction, how? Do you guys have, or you ladies, where does job opportunities and bringing jobs into this city? Because I can't buy a house that costs $10 if I don't have a job. Where does job opportunities and business coming in to help us have jobs rate on your priority list?
So, thank you for the question, Mr. Lilly. I think jobs are one thing, and North Carolina is known for being a business-friendly state. And so we have a lot of jobs coming here, a lot of people coming here. But the jobs aren't for the people who are at the entry level or the people who have been here. It's a business-friendly state, but not necessarily a worker-friendly state. So we have to think about how we raise wages for people to be able to afford to live, because affordability is relative, right? But then also, I talked a little bit about AI and technology taking away that entry-level layer very quickly, and so in the coming years, that will be a bigger challenge that we're facing. And so one of my priorities in terms of my platform is building a small business ecosystem. How do we invest in people's entrepreneurial skills to help them to have the technical support, the expertise, and the investment to scale businesses and make a living in a life where they are? And so I think we need both jobs, and we need to be investing in a small business ecosystem in District 3 and across the city, so that people are not reliant on a job that could go away and are able to earn and live and stay here.
So jobs are very high on my priority list. When we talk about opportunities, a lot of that unfortunately relates to being able, to afford the life that we live here in Charlotte. And we know that for many people, particularly young people, it is unaffordable. So I think helping people have the opportunity to create the life that they want for themselves is key, and oftentimes that involves job opportunities. So I think first we have to have conversations with CMS, CPCC, all the colleges. How are we preparing people for jobs of the future? And as a former educator, those are conversations that we were having. And part of that is critical thinking. How do we help people help themselves? I definitely agree with the small business activation. I think that's essential. And I love the fact that West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition has created that infrastructure for the small businesses in their area. That's something I'd like to see District 3-wide. How do we use some of the strategies and tools that other organizations are creating and emulate that to support all of our different small businesses in the area? We know there's small businesses in Steel Creek. We have a thriving Black middle class in that area. How are we supporting them? In Nations Ford, in Wilmore, right? So how do we help create the infrastructure for people to be successful with jobs? Also with major transportation is important, right? I read a study that says about $7,000, $8,000 is what it costs to have a car a year for someone. That's a lot of money, right? If someone could use public transit instead of relying on a car, that could be a great opportunity and help with affordability and access to get to jobs, right? Sorry. I know.
Good morning, Elliot Royal, West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition. The city of Charlotte has designated corridors opportunity all over our city, and I believe West Boulevard is one of the most historically and continues to be a disinvestment, and they are perpetuating systematic racism in terms of their investment. How do you ensure that you will uplift the corridors opportunity in your district to make sure that we're not left out on the financial decisions of infrastructure investments?
Thank you for that. Yeah, with corridors, I've heard a lot from different organizations in corridors. It does kind of seem to me sometimes that maybe one or two corridors of opportunity receive more investment than others. Yeah, don't get me started on that. Focus on what I'm talking about. Yeah, so when we talk about that investment, I think first is we have to have real conversations with people. And some of our elected officials, some of our city staff, they need to be open to having those real conversations. I mean, we're all seeing it. How do we bring that intentional leadership and that investment to all parts of District 3, particularly when it comes to corridors of opportunity for West Boulevard? So I attend y'all's meetings on a regular because y'all were modeling what needs to be done. And the city and the county should be having those conversations with y'all. Y'all should have a seat at the table. They shouldn't be making decisions without you all, in my personal opinion. And as a District 3 rep, I will fight for that because I know that y'all live in the community, y'all know the issues that are going on, and y'all should be included in creating the change and improvements in that community.
Hi, Elliot, good morning. Did you want me to answer this question as well? Okay. Well, I'm thinking about this issue in much of the same way. We know that the investment has not been equitable. And so when I think about the structure of the city council and where the work really gets done, it is done in the committees. And so as your elected representative for District 3, I would be sure that I am on the Committee for Economic Development, Jobs, as well as Budget and Intergovernmental Relations, to be sure that I'm a loud voice in that room for equitable investments relative to the corridors of opportunities. So that is how I would address that. And of course, engaging the people who are in the corridor of West Boulevard and other kind of disenfranchised corridors that have not gotten that equitable investments, to be sure that those voices are included in those comments and that loudness in those committee meetings.
Good morning, Robert Collins again. You mentioned, Ms. Robin, if you were elected, the time lapse that happens whenever you step into a new position. And this is for you and Joy as well. If you are elected, who is your mentor that's gonna help you to decrease that time so that you can actually be effective?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a great question. So I have relationships with the former District 3 representatives. Lamana Mayfield has been a great mentor and has really given me a lot of information, has already begun teaching me. Of course, Victoria Wallington has done a great job. I don't have as strong a relationship with her, but of course, cultivating those relationships with the people who have been in District 3 and represented that district over a long period of time and done a lot of great work would be those who I would look to for decreasing that learning curve to be able to step right in and get up to speed as quickly as possible.
So I have several mentors, and I think that's essential, that we listen to a wide variety of people in the district in order to be successful. District 3, as I always say, is a very diverse district. We have South End, we have West Boulevard, we have Loso, we have Steel Creek, we have Pawtucket, right? It's a large area, and it's important that we have someone who is not only gonna listen to the residents, but also learn from previous people who have held the position. So I talk about community benefits agreement a lot, yeah. But I do think it's important that we have those conversations so that we make sure the development and change and opportunities benefit everybody. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, Ron Leeper, former city council rep, he has done that already. He has created those community benefits agreements to minimize the impact that the airport has had on residents in that area. Those are continued conversations. People are still having issues with the expansion of the airport. And those are real conversations that we have to figure out how do we minimize that? How do we make sure that people can stay in their house with dignity and pride? So I think those are a lot of conversations to have, and I look forward to continuing to receive mentorship from people who are willing to help, because I think this isn't just something I can do by myself. We all have to work on this together to create the community that we want.
Ms. Emmons, you've alluded to the journey that you have taken in order to get onto the ballot as an independent. Can you explain, one, what made you go that route as opposed to registering as a Democrat? And do you feel that there is more that you can accomplish or make happen as an independent as opposed to being registered as a Democrat?
Or a Republican, to be fair and balanced.
To be fair.
Unaffiliated, not.
Yes, thank you for the question. So I should be clear that I was born into a Democratic family, and I made the decision probably as I got to be in my middle years, in my 30s, to change my affiliation, because I started looking at the fact that I felt like I didn't own my vote. That there was a lot of language around being a reliable base and being loyal and having the party that I've been born into parachute in during election and ask for money and then disappear. And so I also got out into the world and continued to expand my worldview, and I met Republican people who were centrist and moderate. I hope those people still exist. I don't know if it's true. But I really could appreciate their perspective and their values. And so I wanted the opportunity to reclaim my vote and own it for myself. And so unaffiliated made sense to me. I didn't want to have to vote a straight ticket. I wanted to vote policies, not name recognition. I wanted to vote for the values that resonated with the values of my own. And so I think, yes, being able to work across the council despite party affiliation, I think will be a strength that I will bring to the council. Frankly, I don't have beef with either party, but there is a Democratic monopoly on this council. And I think that a pragmatic, unifying centrist voice will be very helpful into bridging the divide. So thank you for the question.
Darnell, I agree, and right here.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. You mentioned churches owning property.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we know that historically, the churches were pivotal in civil rights, voting rights, and boycotting and picketing, and because they didn't risk the chance of losing their jobs because the congregation supported them. What do you see the role of the church in your serving as city council to effect results and to support you and to get out to the people? What do you see? Because there's the controversy of church and state, and that's my question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. I do think it's important that we talk about the role of churches in our community. How do they continue to uplift the Black community, help with not just voter turnout, right? We can have souls to the polls, an upcoming Sunday, because Republicans didn't get rid of that for the general election, they got rid of that for the primary. So one, I think, like I said before, I'm a data nerd. I like looking at data. I like looking at Polaris. As a former HOA president, I like to look and see who owns what. You'd be surprised how much land and property so many churches own. So I think having conversations about how do we work together to help our collective community, their congregation members, right? Their neighbors, right? They don't live in isolation. We're all in this together. So I think having those conversations, I think the city's Housing and Faith initiative is a really great opportunity. If we look at Do Greater Lab, one of their labs is actually in Shiloh Baptist Church. How do we think innovatively? We know that people aren't going to church as much as they used to, right? If we look at the numbers and stats, that's part of that data nerd in me. How do we think innovatively about spaces that churches hold, right? Could we have community centers in some of that space that's not being used? Could we have daycare services, right? We know that daycare is, particularly when it comes to women, can be a huge barrier to making sure that we are staying in the workforce and able to get good jobs. And even if you leave the workforce, what's that gonna do to your 401k or your retirement? So how are you thinking holistically when it comes to our houses of faith?
I'll try to answer quickly, although it's a much longer question. No, you're fine. First of all, I want to point out, I agree that churches sit on a tremendous amount of land just by the sheer amount of churches that we have per capita in North Carolina and across this country. I have also done a lot of work with an organization called Faithlands, a national organization that is working with churches to think about housing and other community needs as attendance rates have gone down in churches across the country. But of course, as a Black woman that has been connected to a church and a church home, as a Black woman understanding the armor bearers of the church, which are the Black women in community that get so much done. I am always going to be connected to the church, seeking their guidance, seeking their support, seeking their innovation and their generosity in terms of thinking about how we solve for seemingly intractable issues in our communities. They are part of the stakeholder group that has to be at the table to think about housing and other needs in our community. And so I will stay rooted and grounded. And I mentioned in another meeting earlier this week, my steps are ordered. So I have to have the church in my life personally and in this endeavor to win this seat for District 3.
Good morning, my apologies for being late. I know you both have environmental concerns. On council, how will you express your concerns for environmental justice and health for our city?
So like we mentioned before, I think being thoughtful with the data. I also like not just Polaris, but also enjoy looking at the quality of life explorer. I think it's really important that we're intentional with anything that we're doing. Be that food insecurity, our unhoused community, all of those things, the city and the county has done a really great job of collecting that data. So I think first, looking at the data to drive the needs of the community. So I think that's really important when it comes to environmental justice. As before, mentioning that private-public partnership, the government isn't going to be able to do all of this ourselves. Those are conversations, we need to find allies, such as houses of faith, like we mentioned, but also nonprofits. So I work for an environmental nonprofit, and I'm notorious for bringing that nonprofit anywhere I go, right? So if I'm in a community, I'm probably like, how can I help with what those needs are? And I think that's imperative, that we're using that data to be thoughtful. How are we reducing historical injustices when we're talking about systemic issues that have been going on? When we talk about the highway expansion, we already know that Black and brown communities are hotter than their more affluent peers because we have a lower tree canopy than they do. So how are we remedying that? Then we talk about asthma rates. All of these things are connected. So how will we bring partners to the table to help remedy that? Because environmental justice, people should be just as concerned about what's going on in Black and brown communities. We don't live in isolation. How do we make sure all of our neighbors are receiving the tools that they need to be successful?
Thank you, I appreciate the question. I think I would try to impress upon my colleagues on the council the importance of environmental stewardship, particularly with all of the development that's going on in our city and our region, where our forest and our tree canopy is being removed, and how we are going to mitigate the adverse impacts. You don't have to be an environmentalist to understand that our planet is heating up, that our cities are hotter, and that trees are not just something that beautify our cities. They do an important job of capturing carbon and cooling our cities off. With all of the highway expansion, we have to think about this holistically. And yes, we have to engage multiple stakeholders, including our nonprofit sector, who are doing work around sustainability and environmentalism. We have to engage all stakeholders to really address this need to be environmentalists, whether you call yourself that or not. It is critically important to our survival and our quality of life in this city and on this planet.
Okay, I have a Colleen question, okay? And I'm gonna try to read this. It's kind of long, but I'm gonna try to, it's about the city manager of Charlotte. We have a city manager. And he's been under scrutiny lately, okay? This city has continuously held a AAA bond rating, the higher rating given to municipalities, no tax increase for the past 5 years. We are the gold standard for cities, yet we are questioning his performance. What do you say to that? Do you support the city manager? I'm trying to get to the question here, but tell me how you just talk about that for a minute.
I didn't hear a question, but I guess I can speak generally to it. Understanding the structure of our government here, we are a city council, city manager governing structure. And so our city manager is super important in the operations and the business of the city. And so that we have had this AAA rating and no tax increase, I think is a plus. But at the same time, I think that everyone who is in service to this city is open to scrutiny, and that we should ask questions, and we should be like investigating performance and really thinking through that pragmatically to make sure that we are supporting the strongest governing structure that we possibly can. I think our city manager, according to the metrics that we know, has been doing a good job, but of course that is not static. We should really keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
So based on what I've seen, I think in any job performance, you continue to reevaluate how someone is doing. With technology the way it is, in our country continuing to evolve and change, I think it's important that we reassess some performance evaluation and criteria that someone may have. I think it's important that we have conversations with residents and different stakeholders, business owners, figure out what is a priority to them, and then use that to drive what performance is for people and our expectations. I think that we also have to have a conversation about how do we help city manager with conversations with city staff. How do we create opportunities for people to engage, right? Is there a standard when it comes to returning emails? There are little things that I personally, as a CMS teacher, I was told I had to return an email within 24 business hours. Those are some questions that I would also ask. So while I'm sure he's doing an excellent job, I think that we need to continue to have conversations. Are you meeting the expectations of the residents? And realize that as people move here and as people travel, priorities are gonna change. And are you still meeting the priorities of the residents? And if so, great, but everybody can improve, myself included, so.
Okay, we have one last question, Ms. Avery. Thank you. I would like to propose that you guys share the job. You're both great. But my comment, everyone probably in this room knows how I feel about the city manager. So what I want to make sure is that when not only you guys, but others get in office, that we make sure that we give all individuals the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
And we don't look at the salary and say, oh, that's too high. We base it upon merit and what the person actually does. I don't have a question.
We did just have that salary report come out
Okay, we want to thank these two ladies for coming, these two candidates for District 3. Really appreciate you. I think this is maybe the third time you've been here, but thank you so much.
It's been a lot on the hot seat.
I know, thank you so much. And we're gonna leave y'all alone, okay?
Yes.
Okay. You can stay if you want to, but we do. Okay. I do want to introduce, and for him to come up, Mr. Everett Blackman. Yes, Mr. Blackman is with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Black Heritage Committee, and on November 15th, there's a Theresa Elder Trailblazer Award luncheon, and he's going to talk for a minute about that. Thank you so much.
Good morning, and thank you, Jackie and the leadership group for this great forum that's been around for quite a while. I will be in front of you very shortly. I just want to talk about an event that we're going to have November the 15th at the Charlotte Museum of History. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that venue. It's from 11 to 2 o'clock. It's a celebration, a brunch celebration of Theresa Clark Elder, who is was a nurse by profession. She passed away in the height of the COVID pandemic at the age of 93. But she started the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Black Heritage Committee, which is a group basically to celebrate our history, to preserve it. And this event celebrates her life, and it celebrates her work in the community. It's the first opportunity since the pandemic we've had for her admirers and people who knew her to publicly celebrate her. So we're asking that you come to this event, that you purchase a ticket. A single ticket is $60. It's just gonna be a love fest, a celebration of her life and local history. One of the things that we've learned, especially in this environment, that we have to be the preservers of our own history. We have to tell our stories, and we have to make sure that we own those stories. And so that's the mission of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Black Heritage Committee. We also have sponsor opportunities. And others. We also have sponsor opportunities that you can talk to me about once I take my seat to help us support this event. But please, November the 15th from 11 to 2 p.m., the Theresa Elder Trailblazer Award Luncheon. This year, the Trailblazers, and there are always people who have contributed and blazed trails in the community, will be Dr. Sonia Ramsey, who is a professor at UNC Charlotte. She wrote about Bertha Roddy and other women who are not very well known, but have done a great job telling our stories and making sure that we are heard. And then Glenn Perkins, who is the founder of Q City Metro. These are our honorees this year, so please come and please consider being a sponsor. As I said, once I take my seat, thank you to this group, to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum for allowing me this time to speak. Have a good day.
Thank you. For the next announcement, we would like to bring up Mr. Sean Kennedy, who
Yes.
has a major announcement on his hands he would like to bring to the forefront.
Oh.
Good morning, family.
Good morning.
Good morning, family. Good morning. All right, my name is Sean Kennedy. I'm with Kennedy Properties and Development, Prosperity Alliance. I'm just a young brother that's trying to make my grandmother proud and do things for our community. So what we're here to discuss today is the historic Excelsior. This evening at 6 o'clock, if you're available, we'd love to have you in the building. We will be presenting in front of the county commissioners on the rebirth of the Excelsior. The Excelsior is a lighthouse, it is an icon, it is history, it is all people, and it needs to come back. So over the last few months, I've dove into trying to figure out a way to bring the Excelsior back. And we're close. We're close. Thank you. We're close. It's been 10 years since the Excelsior closed its doors. And Charlotte lost a big part of itself when it closed its doors. So if you have the time, you have the energy, I would love to have you in the building to show the city, the county, the state that the community wants the Excelsior back. And I'll be up front fighting to try to make this thing happen. So with your love, your support, we can make this thing happen. And that's all I gotta say. So thank you for everything. Thank you for your blessings. Oh, excuse me, yeah. The most important part. Yeah, the government center, 600 East 4th Street, 6 p.m.
Where can we find out more about the plans for the Excelsior?
Absolutely. You can go on the county's website, you can go to Kennedy Properties. You go to my website, learn more about it, and I'll be here, we can wrap. So I'm here, and I got Danielle in the back. She can also fill you in anything about our plans with Excelsior and what we plan to do and make it a community resource. Bring it back and hopefully have some of these meetings there, if possible.
Yes.
Love to have you. I'll provide the breakfast. All right, love y'all. Peace.
Announcements, okay. Thank you. Please call the county commissioners and tell them to support the city. I believe is 100% behind Sean. So please call the county and ask them to support Sean for this evening. I want to say thank you. Over 10 of you attended the event yesterday with Mo Green. Thank you for coming. Oh, Jackie, you're just saying you attended? Thank you. Also, you've received this, but we're gonna pass it out again. The Rhythm and Roots Jazzy Blues at the Carolina Theater. It is going to be spectacular. I know y'all can afford $75, come on. So come out and support and go ahead, go online and get your tickets. Any problems, let me know. Also, this is really important. It's a conversation with Andover. You wonder what is Andover? It's one of the most prominent, dynamic school, and it's a private school. And both of my sons attended post-grad year at Phillips Academy in Andover, in Boston. And it's an opportunity. I know that one of my sons who had like an 800 on the SAT, after he finished there, he had over 1,300. They do a spectacular job post-grad year, but they also start in like 9th grade. This is a wonderful opportunity for your kids. The Associate Director of Admissions will be here at this facility on Sunday, November 2nd at 2 o'clock. And the Associate Director just happens to be my son, Terrell Ivory. So you guys, if you have kids, please let them know this is a wonderful experience for them. And basically, if they have the grades, you can probably go up there with a full scholarship because it costs about $60,000 a year. But most of the kids are given a full scholarship, especially those who look like me. So thank you so very much. Other announcements? Go ahead.
That's right. I heard it out there. This Saturday, October 25th, Lit Fest is going down, Little Rock Apartments. We're looking forward to working with West Boulevard Coalition, Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. Promising pages. My brother's keeper, so many gonna be there, we're gonna turn literacy into that spark and love for reading. Join us October 25th, Lit Fest. 12 to 2 p.m.
Thank you. West Boulevard is hosting a conversation on Tuesday, October 28th at Greater Mount Sinai Baptist Church at 6 p.m. Strongly encourage you all to come out and hear from your residents directly how they feel about the upcoming transit tax. In addition, on November 1st is Legacy Fest, which is the coalition's birthday party. There's flyers back here, so join us for celebration from 12 to 3 on November 1st at 2901 Ramir Bearden. Thank you.
Good morning. I have several announcements. Ms. Stevenson's birthday is this coming Sunday, October the 26th. And she was on the board of the Gethsemane Enrichment Center, and next Wednesday, they are having their 50th anniversary. And this organization was founded by Bishop George Battle. The event will be Wednesday, as I said, at the Fairfield Inn and Suites, Charlotte Uptown from 11:30 until 1 o'clock. Also, the Babysford Road Vocational Trade Center, they deal in the trades, heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing systems. They have openings for free and reduced training. Contact Francis Hall at 980-349-4067. And on this coming Sunday, October the 26th, the Islamic Center, they will be having a transit tax forum from 4 to 6. And the panelists will include Commissioner Rodriguez and State Representatives Majid and Muhammad. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. As many of you know, I've been engaged and involved in robotics for a long time, probably since about 2011 and 12. Well, recently, yesterday, I ran into Shay Abdullah over at with Mo Green's presentation. They said, why don't you come to Tuesday morning breakfast forum and let people know what happened to you? So because of that experience, because I've been engaged and involved for such a long time, I recently became president and CEO of what's called Queen City Robotics Alliance. And so wanted to, and that alliance, basically, if you think of AAU basketball or Pop Warner football, think of Queen City Robotics Alliance as basically AAU robotics. And it's a way that, and it was mentioned earlier by the two panelists above, that AI and robotics are eliminating jobs, lower, entry-level jobs. They're eliminating, all sorts of jobs. So the part of what we do as a Robotics Alliance is we basically train kids in how to build, design, build, test robots, code robots. But not only that, they also learn leadership because we set up each robotics team as a company. And so as an engineer, but an engineering company. And so while engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, are important. So they are equally important to marketing, government outreach, and other accounting. And so students get exposed to each and every one of those disciplines and get an opportunity to figure out early in life what they're good at, what they want to do, so they can make a very important decision early on so that they don't end up, saying, hey, I want to be an electrical engineer, and getting in their second year of engineering school and saying, hey, this is not what I want to do. Or say, I want to do marketing, and get in their second year of college and figure out, hey, I don't want to do marketing, I want to do engineering. We want to get them started off early on. ladies and gentlemen, I would say specifically for the folks that are sitting in this room who have the same hue as my skin, our folks are well underrepresented in this area. And I implore each and every one of you to send me your kids as well. I implore each and every one of you adults to help me coach and manage those kids so that they see somebody that looks like them and are excited about being there, as opposed to coming into the room and saying, well, this is not for me. 2 opportunities, and I'll get off the mic because I know I'm going past my time. November 8th, we have a STEM Fest at the Pearl. This has been sponsored by the Pearl, as we're working with them to try to get folks wrapped in. The event goes from 1 to 4. You can come and go or just stay all day. Registration is required, and I'll send you the link so that you can have that. And then there's for Queen City Robotics Alliance, we are having a Hops and Bots fundraiser on November 13th at No Doubt Brewing Company, where there'll be robotics demonstrations, and DeAndrea Salvador will be making a presentation about women in STEM. Thank you.
Is there a website?
Website for Queen City Robotics is queencityrobotics.org. Thank you.
All right, so before we get out of here, just one more quick announcement online from Ms. Monifa Drayton. There will be a campaign launch party next Tuesday between 6 and 7:30 at the Real African Art Gallery for Mr. McAdoo for North Carolina House District 106. Again, McAdoo for North Carolina House District 106 launch party next Tuesday, 6 to 7:30 at the Real African Art Gallery. All right, we want to thank everyone for your attention, for coming. Before we dismiss, we would like to give a very special shout out and happy birthday to Miss Carlenia Ivory over here. Happy birthday. Was that your
I know, right?
All right, thank you everyone for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Thank you.